The Indiana Fever have the first pick in this Monday's draft. A reminder that Indiana Fever is a WNBA team and not what Michael Che gave to dozens of women at Purdue University.
Protesters continue to gather at Standing Rock Indian Reservation to stop the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. The natives believe that the oil pipeline could contaminate their water supply, but the oil company believes, nah. The Sheriff's Department began using rubber bullets and water hoses against the protesters last weekend. And I know that law enforcement is a very, very tough job. But at some point, when you're out there in 23-degree weather, spraying some native family with a fire hose on Thanksgiving, you gotta stop and wonder, are we the bad guys?
It was also reported Friday that the U.S. economy added over 300,000 jobs. Unfortunately, most of them...
During his acceptance speech, Will Smith said, "Love will make you do crazy things." You know what else makes you do crazy things? Crazy. But I understand where Will's coming from. I mean, you can't expect him to sit there and watch another man jump all over his wife without signing an NDA. Check it out at www.wdyslexiacom.com.
People in Paris with disabilities are saying that the city has not fulfilled its promise to make it universally accessible before this summer's Olympics. And officials admit they're having some safety issues with the new Eiffel Tower wheelchair ramp.
A self-described anti-woke beer company has created a calendar which features, quote, the most beautiful conservative women in America, which is just a polite way of saying flat asses. U.S. officials are concerned that Vladimir Putin is keeping military units positioned near Kyiv despite earlier promises to withdraw. Putin's failure to pull out has earned him the nickname Nick Cannon.
A woman in Ohio, convicted of throwing a burrito bowl at a Chipotle worker, has been sentenced to spend 2 months working in fast food restaurants. Fast food, where your job is other people's jail.
Interview with ABC News, Steve Bannon called himself the voice of MAGA and also the face of gout. A bat used by Jackie Robinson was sold at auction for more than $1 million. The bat is considered to be so valuable because Robinson used it at an All-Star game and also to get back to his car safely.
A longtime director of Wheel of Fortune has died at the age of 92. Said Wheel of Fortune viewers, "Wow, so young."
WNBA finals were won by the New York Liberty. I'm kidding. Vegas beat them in 4, you phonies. You didn't see that game. Leader of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, has been arrested and charged with seditious conspiracy in connection with the January 6th attack. But I don't know. He looks pretty remorseful. Hopefully he can patch things up. No, that wasn't an eye joke. I was being genuine.
Announced that their new Lord of the Rings TV series will be called Rings of Power, though I'm personally more excited for the spin-off Gollum in Paris. Well, after McDonald's.
Iowa's Final Four game against UConn was the most watched women's college basketball game ever, with 14.2 million viewers, beating the previous record by 14.2 million viewers.
After being found liable for defamation against 2 Georgia election workers, Rudy Giuliani was ordered yesterday to pay the hilarious sum of $148 million. You might as well just make it $1 billion, because there's no way he can pay it. At this point, they only called Giuliani the mayor of 9/11 because that's all that's left in his bank account. A martial artist in Australia punched a 7-foot-tall kangaroo that was trying to drown his dog. Australia, where life is a Mad Lib.
Blanket for a blanket.
In a new interview, Billy D. Williams says that actors should be allowed to do blackface, adding, "If you're an actor, you should do anything you want to do." Exactly, said Kevin Spacey. Republican Representative Derek Van Orden, who looks like if Santa stormed the Capitol, argued in front of legislation to bring whole milk back to school cafeterias, saying that almond milk wasn't milk because, quote, milk comes from a mammal. Then he whipped out his nipple and said, "Allow me to demonstrate." A new census report shows that by the end of the year 2060, 1 out of every 4 Americans will be Latino. Burger King has introduced a Halloween-themed burger that has a black bun. Oh, sure, but when I turn black for Halloween, I'm setting back race relations. Authorities in Arizona spent nearly 2 hours chasing a pair of llamas through the streets after they escaped from a petting zoo. But thankfully, this story has a happy ending. No one was hurt, and the llamas were safely returned to their prison of unwanted touching. Well, guys, hi. This was pretty crazy, but look, it's not the end of the world, okay? Because this is the end of the world. That's right, scientists basically published an obituary for the Earth this week, and people were like, yeah, but what does Taylor Swift think about it? American Apparel wants to stop using what they call Instagram hoes for their ads and instead hire professional models. But good news, they're still going to make them up to look like they've been kidnapped by human traffickers. Because when I see ads for American Apparel, I don't want to buy clothes. I want to see those women rescued by Liam Neeson. During opening day at Chicago's Wrigley Field, lines for the bathrooms were so long that fans resorted to urinating in cups, a move Chicagoans are calling, "Hey, free beer," and "Oh, no."
A woman in Utah survived after her SUV got stuck in the snow and mud for nearly a week. The woman says she couldn't have made it without her children. Her delicious, delicious children.
Many observers said that President Trump looked bored, but I think he was just getting an idea. He was thinking, wait, before this whole Mueller report comes out, I could just fake my own death and escape to the last place anyone would ever look for me, Mexico. And you know Trump will be the first guy to ever fake his own death via tweet. Interesting fact, Gritty was actually the first mascot ever based on the crayon drawings of a 5-year-old who saw his parents murdered. The New York Times also published a report accusing the Trump family of cheating the government out of $500 million in taxes. Personally, I think the IRS should just seize all the money the Trump family hid and give it to Puerto Rico. Or better yet, they could make Trump's biggest nightmare come true and let a bunch of Puerto Ricans come live in his buildings.
I begged you not to do that. The author who wrote children's books under the name Lemony Snicket announced that he is donating $1 million to Planned Parenthood. It's an amount that will cover a whole series of unfortunate events. Besides, listen, Colin Kaepernick is not the only one trying to raise awareness during a football game for a sad cause. They're turning the uniforms pink for breast cancer tomorrow, and nobody's upset about that. I bet if the police went around shooting unarmed boobies, everybody would take a knee. It was only twice. It's important to note that this deal is not a treaty and won't be put into writing until June. But when it comes to preventing a nuclear holocaust, the last thing I want to hear is, "Don't worry, I got it all up here."
Then last night, Trump apologized the way a drunk ex would at midnight on Facebook.
He said that Bill Clinton has told him much worse on the golf course, which might be true, but you know Bill Clinton said it way smoother than that.
Mitt Romney announced Friday that he would not be running in the 2016 presidential race. To which Republicans responded, "No, please, no." Okay. It looks like she's cool on safari, but don't. It's Disneyland. It's Disneyland. This is also about Disney. This is what she texted me. Disneyland having trouble with the measles. Maybe they should rebrand it as Mousepox.
then show Mickey with spots. On serious note, this is why vaccination is so important.
Duke beat Wisconsin 68-63 to win the NCAA championship. Afterwards, disappointed Wisconsin students took to the streets to riot the only way white people know how, without consequences. You lucky bastards. Researchers have announced they have found the strongest evidence yet of flowing water on Mars. Sadly, all the fountains had signs that read, "Greens only." Got a long way to go on that planet, too.
And you know this isn't even the worst thing he's ever said. This is just the worst thing he said to Billy Bush while mic'd on an Access Hollywood bus.
The most telling thing Trump said was, they'll let you do anything because you're a celebrity. So you're literally explaining your entitlement.
Mitt Romney is reportedly considering running for president in 2016. In a related story, Charlie Brown is planning on finally kicking that football.
I mean, we're sharing a bed together, and conservatives are all sprawled out in the middle while liberals are on the edge, passive-aggressively tweeting. If we want this relationship to work, we got to cuddle, man. We got to talk, get familiar. You can't just wait until you're in desperate need of attention and then poke her in the back with your penis and ask, "You sleep?" It's just true. Anytime my friends come back from vacation, they tell me two things: what they ate and who they had sex with. And I'm scared. I'm scared that soon Earth is going to be alien Thailand, where strange alien businessmen make us do weird tricks with ping pong balls. I don't got the hips for that, Colin. This week, Colin Joe spent 3 days in his dressing room crying like a bitch.
Then I found out the Mets lost.
People Magazine's sexiest man alive is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah. He once again beat his longtime rival, Dwayne "The Scissors" Johnson. I am so proud of that joke, by the way. But you listen to him anyway, and you should, because he's got that loud, sticky, icky oil. Ain't easy to find. The New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has filed paperwork to form a political action committee, which is step one toward a possible presidential campaign. However, Christie maintains at step 0 on his Fitbit. Karen, the accountant, begged me not to tell that joke. How could any guy even be against birth control if it means better sex and no kids? We don't even get any of the side effects. Women do, and they're fine with it. Honestly, I don't know how we're getting away with this. It knocks their entire chemistry out of whack. Women are basically putting their bodies through global warming just so I can keep pretending to have a latex allergy.
Well, guys, we were off for a month, but conveniently, so was the government. President Trump, the man who said he would own the shutdown, clearly does not care about the people who are working unpaid, who can't afford basic things like food. But why would he care? He's a billionaire who controls all the hamburgers in the world. Facebook has introduced a new feature allowing people to connect with someone they have a secret crush on. To learn more, watch a future episode of Dateline called The Facebook Murders.
Robots are even taking the jobs that we thought we'd never lose. Like laid-off factory workers became truck drivers because those trucks ain't gonna drive themselves. Well, guess what? In about 2 years, those trucks are gonna start driving themselves. And white people freaking out over nothing news. A mall...
In 2013, Putin awarded Tillerson the Order of Friendship, which is one of the highest honors Russia gives to foreigners. In fact, the only higher honor Russia can give you is President of the United States. Insiders are saying that the Obama administration is extremely upset that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to ask Congress for additional sanctions against Iran, saying that he will, quote, pay a price, which brings the number of countries that have threatened Israel up to an even all of them.
I don't think there's ever been two more unlikable candidates. Not one time in this election have I heard anyone say, you know what, I like them both.
And Donald Trump is now the oldest person ever elected president and has never held a job in government. If you're 70 and you have no experience, you couldn't get hired at Target.
Police in North Carolina say that a 12-pound package of marijuana washed up on a beach. For some perspective, this is what a 12-pound package of marijuana looks like.
When you looked at that horrible woman last night, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
Wow. That wouldn't be my first choice for a defense. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, clarified the meaning of the common chant, "Death to America," saying that it does not mean death to America, but instead refers to America's policies. You know, sort of how, like, the people outside are chanting, "Dump Trump," but they really just mean, what are his ideas on health care? At the Republican debate, Senator Marco Rubio called for a return to vocational training, saying that we need, quote, less philosophers and more welders. But I don't know, I think maybe we need less presidential candidates and more working senators. It was reported that Sam Smith has agreed to pay Tom Petty royalties for his hit song "Stay With Me" due to its resemblance to Petty's song "I Won't Back Down," while Petty has agreed to pay royalties to Disney due to his resemblance to Jiminy Cricket.
Here we see President Clinton looking for something, anything, to hug besides his wife.
It was announced that Creed singer Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra in an upcoming movie. But the good news is Sammy Davis Jr. will be played by Scarlett Johansson.
Last week on Larry King Live, Marlon Brando made the shocking statement that Hollywood is, quote, run by Jews. In response, outraged Jewish organizations made it snow in New York in April.
Well, tennis player, ophthalmologist, transsexual Dr. Renee Richards is writing a book about her life. It is tentatively titled Tennis Without Balls.
Well, this coming Monday is Oscar night, and 3 films, The English Patient, Secrets and Lies, and Shine, are locked in a tight race in the category Best Picture There's Not a Chance in Hell I Will Ever See.
The co-founder of the Waffle House passed away this week at the age of 97. He died the way so many Waffle House patrons have, a knife fight in the parking lot.
A sad piece of news came in today from the Bedford Hills prison, where Jean Harris is serving a sentence of 15 years. At noon yesterday, she made her second suicide attempt. 2 cellmates, 3 wardens, and a priest were killed.
Real estate mogul Donald Trump announced this week that after 3.5 years of marriage, he is seeking a divorce from wife Marla Maples. According to Trump, Maples violated part of their marriage agreement when she decided to turn 30. Unacceptable.
The bat used by Babe Ruth to hit his 500th home run was auctioned off this week. Also, I'll be auctioning off the bat I used to keep my neighborhood white.
The Pentagon announced yesterday that U.S. and British planes had struck Iraqi air defense sites south of Baghdad. Defense officials say the president wanted to send a clear message to the Iraqi government that he knows exactly where Iraq is.
Who are safer drivers, men or women? Well, according to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do, do you? No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Well, a new report ranks the New York City subway system as the best in the country. This was according to Masturbating Hobo Monthly.
In an interview this month, Matthew McConaughey said that he wants to die the same way his father did, right after having sex. McConaughey's mother has said absolutely not.
Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby.
Pop singer Madonna was outraged this week when a tabloid photographer snapped her picture while she was breastfeeding her new baby. Apparently, the baby was blocking her nipple.
Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
A new trend on the internet is photos of people planking, which is the act of lying face down, keeping one's body stiff while balancing on top of something, or what Protestants call sex.
Apple has announced that it will add hundreds of new emojis to its iOS system, including a person at a spa, a vomiting face, and a shushing finger, finally giving emoji fans the ability to describe what it was like to work for Harvey Weinstein.
Hollywood prostitute Divine Brown has written a book describing in lurid detail exactly what she did with Hugh Grant. The book sells for $25, but for $35, she'll show you.
A family in Australia has discovered what is believed to be the world's oldest message in a bottle, which was thrown into the sea over 130 years ago by a then middle-aged Bernie Sanders.
After closing out a successful first season, the WNBA is considering several changes to improve the level of play in the league next year. Among the proposals, extending the playoffs, increasing salaries, bringing back the three-point line, and replacing all the female players with guys.
How is no one keeping track of how many guns people own? There is a real law in Texas that says it's illegal to own more than 6 dildos. And I get why. No one needs that many. If you have more than 6 dildos, it's a clear sign you are training for something awful.
Thanks, I'm Norm Macdonald, and now the fake news. Well, it is finally official. Murder is legal in the state of California. Testimony during the final week provided some spellbinding moments. In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran put on the knit cap prosecutors say O.J. wore the night he committed the murders. Although O.J. may have hurt his case when he suddenly blurted out, "Hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat."
A new poll shows that Hillary Clinton's poll numbers have dropped 2 points since she made her presidential campaign official. Because for some reason, once a woman makes it official, we suddenly start to lose interest.
Oprah Winfrey's longtime boyfriend, Stedman Graham, has written a new book called You Can Make It Happen, a 9-step plan for success. Step number 1, become Oprah Winfrey's boyfriend. Then the other 8 are just hang around.
It was reported that Yahoo and AOL will combine to form a new company because no one wants to die alone.
Is the First Lady a compulsive liar, though? It's beginning to look that way. In an interview on last night's 2020, intended to promote her new book, It Takes a Village, Mrs. Clinton folded under tough questioning by Barbara Walters and admitted that, in fact, it does not take a village, and furthermore, that she was aware that it does not take a village when she wrote the damn book.
Stormy Daniels testified that during their encounter, Donald...
Outside a quinceañera.
Insider said that during his hush money trial, Donald Trump complained that none of his supporters were in court with him. Black men feel like the Trump and Biden campaigns are not actually trying to forge true relationships and just want their votes. Yeah. During a new interview with ABC News, Steve Bannon called himself the voice of MAGA, and also ended a Vatican summit by promising the Catholic Church would confront the clergy sex abuse head on instead of their usual way, face down, ass up.
A student in Texas who is nicknamed White Lightning set a high school record by running the 100-meter dash in 9.98 seconds. Coincidentally, people call me White Lightning because I also finish in under 10 seconds.
It was reported that more than 400 million pieces of plastic has washed up on a remote island in the Indian Ocean. And for reference, here's what 400 million pieces of plastic looks like.
A man in Iran went to the hospital after he got a AA battery stuck inside his penis. It was AA because that's the sound he makes when it goes in.
Experts say that by 2026, Disney Plus will surpass Netflix to become the top streaming platform in the world. Not so fast, said Pornhub. I am very impressed by all the Ukrainian citizens signing up to defend their country, even the famous ones. Imagine that here. If you ever read on the news, Michael Che has joined an American war, we have just lost that war.
A substitute teacher in North Carolina has resigned after she reportedly told a class of elementary students that Martin Luther King Jr. killed himself. In her defense, he is the one who decided to keep running his mouth. Why?
The nomination fulfills Biden's promise to change the subject. You clapped too early.
Biden chose Jackson after interviewing 3 finalists this week. Weird, I thought interviewing black candidates was just for show, said the NFL.
A woman in Arizona gave birth to a 14-pound baby boy. So now Arizona has 2 Grand Canyons. It's a math joke. But I have a close friend who's Russian, and I asked her what she thought about it, and she said, Michael, you know paid me to talk, baby. Study finds that 11% of American adults are afraid of the dark, especially if that dark is behind them at the ATM. In the days after New York Mayor Eric Adams announced a new plan to stop violence in the city's transit system, 6 people were stabbed on the subway. And I think I speak for all New Yorkers when I say, that sounds pretty low.
Okay, I'm already so worried. Okay, it says, okay, time out. I refuse to read this last joke, not because it's racist, but because there's a black man holding my cue card. It says I can't work like this, so Merry Christmas, homeboy, you're fired. Researchers have observed a nearly 60-foot-tall rogue wave off the coast of British Columbia, which is the largest ever recorded. Researchers believe the wave was generated when Yo Mama fell overboard.
Researchers are testing a new method to treat cancer by injecting the cells with the herpes virus. So good news, if you've ever had sex with me, you might have the cure for cancer.
Well, we're now at the point where at every press conference, the president's asked, will there be a nuclear war? A journalist asked President Biden if we should be worried about nuclear war, and he said no. Because what's he going to say? Hell yeah, man. Start digging a bunker, Jack. Recent polls show that Pete Buttigieg has only 4% support among African Americans. But that'll change once Pete announces his running mate, the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Capturing Chernobyl is like landing an audition for Harvey Weinstein now.
Doctors in Iowa have confirmed a dog disease that can be passed on to humans. Fine, I'll wear a condom. Oh, wow. Okay.
Many analysts were surprised Putin went through with the invasion, even though it was obviously going to be a colossal mistake. But he couldn't back down after all that buildup. Kind of like how NBC still had to go through with airing the Winter Olympics. Fans of the hit HBO show Euphoria have been harshly criticizing the series' creator for sexualizing the high school characters. Plus, it's just not accurate. I mean, take it from me, no one has sex in high school. Don't applaud that much. Well, this week, Russia began their invasion of Ukraine. President Putin launched the attack with support from allies like Belarus and Tucker Carlson.
Tuesday was National Pig Day, but I told that to a pig and he handcuffed me. This is a tough subject to make jokes about. I mean, in my lifetime, I've seen footage of attacks like this on other countries, but never a white one. Cup Noodles has introduced a new breakfast version of their instant ramen that mixes the flavors of sausage, maple syrup, pancakes, and eggs. The flavor will be called Mom Left.
And now a correction to a story we ran last week. Prince Charles is actually the one in the middle. So we apologize for that.
A new study suggests that the average man exaggerates the length of their penis by more than 20%. But aren't you supposed to add 20% for tip?
NASA has named the 4 astronauts it will send on the Artemis 2 mission to the moon. And if things go wrong, I think I know who's dying first. Oh, he can do the Hitler salute now?
A woman who's been traveling the world says she's gone on 34 first dates in nearly 20 countries. Her secret? She's being sex trafficked.
Sad story from the world of entertainment this week. Talk show host Ricki Lake had to get rid of her dog Dudley after the pooch became too aggressive with her 7-month-old son Milo. A clearly saddened Lake said, "It broke my heart to get rid of that dog, but he was delicious."
81-year-old women have traveled the world in 80 days after the post office lost their ashes. After his arraignment, Donald Trump spoke to supporters at Mar-a-Lago and said there was a very dark cloud over our beloved country, which is also what he used to call Obama. A proposed bill in California would create an alert system for missing black women and kids. This is in addition to the alert system for missing white women and kids, the news.
In Colorado this week, Bob Dole warned that if Pat Buchanan is the Republican nominee, the party might lose both the presidency and control of Congress. In response, Buchanan warned that if anyone other than himself becomes president, blacks will retain the right to vote.
As this year's awards season gets underway, there's growing movement to get rid of the gendered categories of Best Actor and Best Actress and instead call them Best Actor and Best Actor who got paid less.
In a new documentary, Pope Francis praises the virtues of sex, calling it one of the beautiful things that God has given to the human person. Not the way I do it.
Last night, the epic disaster film Twister opened to big box office and some controversy. The Reverend Jesse Jackson has called for a boycott of the movie, claiming that not enough black people in the film are killed by tornadoes.
The National Brotherhood of Skiers is pushing for greater representation of black people in winter sports, which are predominantly white. Huh, so it seems like someone's a little jealous that we took their precious dunk contest.
President Biden is trying to downplay the recent leak of classified U.S. documents that were posted on social media because when you're over 80, a couple of leaks is nothing to be embarrassed about.
3 years ago, an 11-year-old British schoolgirl put a message in a bottle and tossed it into the Atlantic Ocean. Well, this week, she was astounded to receive a reply from halfway around the world. Sadly, the reply read, "You're 11, what are you wearing?"
Doctors in Nepal saved a man after he inserted a water glass into his rectum for sexual gratification and it got stuck. But I think the man actually felt positive about the experience because he said the glass was half full.
While in the hospital, Michael Jackson had his room specially decorated with 2 huge photos of Shirley Temple. But don't get the wrong idea here. Michael Jackson is a homosexual pedophile.
It was announced that Puerto Rico's only zoo is closing after years of alleged animal neglect. Worse, the zoo is closing is being advertised as all you can eat.
The publisher of Roald Dahl's books announced that they're altering some of his insensitive language like the words fat and ugly, as well as modernizing his portrayal of women, which will mostly affect Dahl's beloved children's classic, The Fat Ugly Wife Who Knew Her Place.
TriStar's Picture is planning a film about the 70s disco act, The Village People. While the movie will be coming out next summer, it plans to wait until Thanksgiving to come out to its parents.
A Jeopardy contestant this week was forced to quit social media after people said his mustache looks like Hitler's. The contestant said he's so mad that he's had it up to here.
NBA Slam Dunk Contest was won by Mac McClung, a 6'2" white man who has only appeared in 2 NBA games, which is just a terrible way to end Black History Month.
A down-and-out O.J. Simpson, depressed that all of his money-making ideas have failed, has decided to go back to doing what he does best, killing people.
And come to think of it, I got addicted to you. Oh, no, no, no. And come to think of it, I need somebody like you.
After a judge's ruling left access to abortion pills uncertain, some state officials are stockpiling them just in case. Officials like California Governor Gavin Newsom, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey, and New York comedian Michael Che.
Disney World is closing Splash Mountain to turn it into Tiana's Bayou Adventure after complaints that its Song of the South theme was racist. Okay, but where's the outrage about Disney forcing a mentally challenged dwarf to mine blood diamonds?
New medical research shows that men and women have different food cravings. Men preferring meat and women preferring sweets. Scientists trace this back to caveman days, when men had to go out and hunt for food while women sat on their fat asses eating chocolates.
Researchers say the number of gray whales off western North America has continued to decline for several years. It's a sad fact that makes me wonder if whale oil is really the best way to give my hair this amazing volume. British officials have unveiled King Charles III's new royal monogram. The C stands for Charles, the R is for Rex, and the 3 is for how many hundreds of yards Prince Andrew has to stay away from schools.
20th Century Fox has announced that Macaulay Culkin will not be hired to star in Home Alone 3. Studio spokesman said that it was nothing personal, but with Culkin now 16 years of age, the only way to keep him in the film would be to make the character retarded.
U.S. Surgeon General is warning that children are joining social media at too young an age, and they should wait until they're at least 16, when they're hotter. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. And a black Superman actually makes a lot of sense when you remember that Superman was abandoned by his parents as a baby.
A woman in Arizona gave birth to a 14-pound baby boy. So now Arizona has 2 Grand Canyons. It's a math joke.
Well, I knew you'd like that one, so here's another one. Warner Brothers is producing a new movie in which Superman is black. In this version, black Superman's kryptonite is an honest day's work.
Whoa! A new survey by the Washington Post reports that D.C. Mayor Marion Barry's popularity among city residents has dropped to its lowest point in 5 years. However, Mayor Barry insists he has no interest in polls, or for that matter, anything else that isn't crack. Yes.
Thank you very much for being here. But before I start tonight, I just wanted to read a brief statement that I prepared. I denounce anti-Semitism in all its forms. And I stand with my friends in the Jewish community. And that, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time. I gotta tell you guys, I've probably been doing this 35 years now. And early in my career, I learned that there are 2 words in the English language that you should never say together in sequence. And those words are the and Jews. I've never heard someone do good after they said that. Kanye's gotten into some scrapes before. Normally when he's in trouble, I pull up immediately. But this time I was like, you know what? Let me see what's going to happen first. Just want to see where this is all going. I can't even remember how it started. Vaguely, I remember it started with a tweet, strange tweet. It was like, I'm feeling a little sleepy. I'm going to get me some rest, but when I wake up, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. And then he just went to bed. I was up all night worried. What is he going to do to the Jews? I grew up around Jewish people. I have a lot of Jewish friends. So I'm not freaked out by your culture. I know a little bit about it just from hanging around. I'd be like, yo, let's go out at school tomorrow. They'd be like, we can't go out. It's Shana Na tomorrow. I'd be like, where? What is Shana Na? I had so many questions. Why do some of your people dress like Run DMC? And Kanye woke up from that nap. He went right to work. A year ago, I'd seen him on a podcast called Drink Champs, a great show, and it was an amazing appearance. Noriega and them were there, the rappers that I love, and they all had their gold chains and stuff on. And Kanye said, only millionaires wear chains. They said, what? He said, I'm a billionaire. Billionaires don't wear their money on their body. I tucked my chain and I said, oh, snap. It was a good appearance. It was fun and funny. But when he woke up, he went on Drink Champs again. This time, he was on one. He was mad about something. He said, I can say anti-Semitic things, and Adidas can't trap me. Now what? Adidas dropped that nigga immediately. Ironically, Adidas was founded by Nazis. And they were offended. I guess the student surpassed the teacher. It's a big deal. He had broken the show business rules. There's just a rule. You know, the rules of perception. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you should never speak about it. Kanye got in so much trouble, Kyrie got in trouble. Kyrie Irving posted a link to a movie that he had seen on Amazon. No caption on the post or nothing like that. But apparently this movie had some, I don't know, anti-Semitic tropes or something. And it was some weird title like From Hebrew to Negro or something. And the NBA told me he should apologize. And he was slow to apologize. And then the list of demands to get back in their good graces got longer and longer. And this is where, you know, I draw the line. I know the Jewish people have been through terrible things all over the world, but you can't blame that on black Americans. You just can't. You know what I mean? Thanks to the one person that said that. A fair punishment would be he should just post a link to Schindler's List and y'all write your own captions. Kyrie Irving's black ass was nowhere near the Holocaust. In fact, he's not even certain it existed. I saw one news pundit screaming about Kanye. She said, mental health is no excuse for that type of language. Yes, it is, bitch. You can kill somebody if you're mentally ill. Listen, okay, I don't think Kanye is crazy at all. I think he's possibly not well. Well, I've been to Hollywood. I don't want y'all to get mad at me. I'm just telling you. I've been to Hollywood. This was just what I saw.
Don't fall for me. Don't put your trust in me. Don't even lie for me. I want you, honey. I don't get it.
It's a lot of Jews. Like a lot. But that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? There's a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. Doesn't mean we run the place. I could see if you had some kind of issue. You know what I mean? You might go out to Hollywood and you might start connecting some kind of lines, and you could maybe adopt the delusion that the Jews run show business. It's not a crazy thing to think. But it's a crazy thing to say out loud in a climate like this. Now the midterms are over, and it's crazy climate. And I got to tell you, I feel like this midterm, like all of humanity depends on it. And it's an ominous sign. The most ominous sign of the midterms, I believe, would be Herschel Walker, who I don't want to speak badly of because he's black. But I have to admit, he's observably stupid. Even when he's not talking, his mouth be open a little bit like. He's the kind of guy that looks like he thinks before he makes a move on tic-tac-toe. And I'm watching the news now, they're declaring the end of the Trump era. Now, okay, I can see how in New York you might believe this is the end of his era. I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it, because I hear it every day. He's very loved. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. Well, I'm not joking right now. He's an honest liar. That first debate, I'd never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire, screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro. It's what he said." And the moderator said, "Well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, as you suggest, what would be your evidence?" You remember what he said, bro? He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said, "God damn." And then he pulled out an Illuminati membership card and chopped a line of cocaine up and did it right at the podium. No one had ever heard someone say something that true. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, "This man doesn't pay his taxes." He shot right back. "That makes me smart."